Urbanik.
My name is Emily.
My name is Catherine Moore, but I go by Kat a lot.
I'm Eric.
I am Bruno Bush.
My name's Harley.
I'm Erin Rogers.
So I'm Claire Soulier.
I'm Jessica Samaroni. You can call me Jess.
I was fine for a long time, and then I had a really rough period in my life, and in that rough period I developed my depression, my anxiety, and it all fell under the umbrella of my PTSD from being sexually assaulted by a boyfriend of mine. The PTSD is the main factor, and with it comes the depression and the anxiety, I guess I can say.
I was hospitalized for attempted suicide, and I was diagnosed with suicide and depression. And I spent a week in a rehab facility. And it was just like a real eye-opener because, I was always like, I'm fine, it's fine, I'm just in a rough patch, it'll get better. And until I got into that place did I realize how bad of a spot that I was in.
Future music teacher, I really want to work with the high school population because of mental health. I think music is a great way to cope with mental health, especially for that weird 9th through 12th grade age. So I went to college and then met a bunch of people who are experiencing mental health issues that I wasn't dealing with, and I learned from their experiences. And now as a teacher, I'm seeing my students with similar experiences or even experiences of their own. And I'm always trying to think of ways of, how can my teaching and how can my education and pedagogy help out in any way with these students, and how can I relate to them and how can I help them move forward from these experiences.
My brother, he was hospitalized for attempted suicide. My brother's experience and then my personal experience really just opened my eyes to the nuances and the undertones of mental health and how it can be really inward and really nobody shows it, or really outward. They show it all the time.
I definitely think that it can be portrayed as something that can be brushed off, that can be just forgotten about, and that it makes somebody weaker because they have a mental illness or they struggle with mental health.
I mean, there's the joke all the time, why don't you just feel better? Why don't you just stop being sad? Why don't you just, There
are two main types of depression. There's internally motivated depression and externally motivated depression, where you can have something happen to you that causes you to be depressed, whereas something that you do can cause you to be depressed. So I don't think a whole lot of people know that there's a difference when somebody is depressed because of what they've done or what has been done to them.
I think there's a really big stigma that people with mental illness are kind of giving up and that they're not letting themselves get help, but getting help is not determinant of you trying.
I'll have days where I'm at my highest high, and I always just want to be around my friends and I can go out and be social and have a good time, and then the next day I can be completely at my lowest and I can't do anything. But I feel like people always think you're constantly at a low, and it's not like that.
There's this big misconception that it's sometimes our job as the people who are socially aware of it, that it's our job to save every single person, all of our friends. And that's just physically not possible. And then it puts us in a bad place as well.
That it's not something that can just be brushed aside.
It takes time to work through whatever you're working through. Some people just expect you to be okay whenever you're not capable of doing that, at that point. So everyone just needs to take a step back and realize that everyone's going through something.
We are not our illness, I guess I should say. I'm still me. I just have this, or I'm living with the fact that this happened to me and this is just what my brain is doing.
I wish more people knew about the healing qualities of music and art. It's all just something that can be positive and something that can just, a breather, a moment where you can just kind of relax. I wish more people knew how truly moving and special music and art is in that sort of way.
I can't say that like art's gonna cure mental illness or anything like that, but I think that having that medium through which to communicate, that's something we talk a lot about in music therapy. It's like sometimes things are better sung than said, and that's just the truth. Sometimes song lyrics say what you're trying to say a little bit better than how you could say it.
I enjoy listening to music. I'm not necessarily great with like the making and playing of it, but hearing other people's words just is inspiring to see how they express feelings that I'm feeling where I don't necessarily have the words to express it, and just knowing that I'm not alone in those thoughts.
I don't really use like my mental health state to create any sort of art, but I do like to play the piano as a way of like managing my mental health.
I think being around other people and creating music and art of any form with other people all of a sudden lets me get rid of all that extra stress.
I think just being better about opening up discussions on mental health and being better about opening up about your own personal struggles with mental health, because I think that vulnerability is lacking in that, but in that vulnerability you can find connection, you can find understanding with other people, and you know, that feeling of community really increases with that vulnerability.
I think it's important to look beyond the surface. I think we all hold so many things inside that we aren't able to define, and even by ourselves we can't say like, I have this specific thing wrong or this thing is troubling me. It's easy to mask that, so knowing that everybody is going through something and you're not alone with it.
Be patient with people, because some people are well adjusted into their mental illness and some people aren't. Like they know they have it, but they don't know how to function with it.
Talk about it. You can't just sit around and think that it'll get better on its own. You really have to talk about it, because as soon as I started talking about it, I started feeling better.
To not be afraid to get help if they need it, because it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength, and it's a sign of wanting to better yourself.
Your illness doesn't define who you are, and you are still the same person that you have always been. It's just now things are a lot tougher, and we're all here to support each other for that.
I know people will say, oh, you need to take self-care. Sometimes self-care is crying or literally just laying or making a Spotify playlist and blasting it as loud as you can, because that's what I do.
There needs to be a moment of validation for yourself, self-validation, where you need to go, this is purely something that happens to everyone, and I need to live in this moment for a little bit. And there's going to be a time where I'm going to be able to crawl out of this. But the worst moments of my life was when I was dealing with mental health issues, and I wasn't trying to laugh them off, but I was having these moments of, I shouldn't be feeling this way. There's so many good things in my life, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I need to fix it. And it dug me deeper into the hole. And the moment I started to accept that this is where I was at in my life was when I was able to start finding joys and peace with myself.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to reach out or go to counseling or call your friends, anything that can help you in the moment, or even long-term surround yourself with good people, and don't be afraid to reach out to someone if you need them.
Finding that song, finding that poem, finding that book that just kind of lets you escape a little bit, or kind of describes how you're feeling.
Bolster yourself up like, wow, I got that solfege appraisal. I nailed that solfege appraisal, or like that hist and lit test was like super easy. You really have to find things that raise you up and make you positive.
The presence of another person often, but I think everyone has their person. A lot of people, it's a mom, you know, they call your parents. A lot of people, it's a roommate or a significant other. I find that it's easy to live in it and just to sit there in the struggle. And I often just need the reminder that there are things outside of my own experience and perspective to kind of center me back in.
Something that really helps me when I am in a bad mental state is doing something with my hands. So I like to color or play an instrument or even just watching TV, something that gets your mind off of whatever you're thinking about.
It's easy to go straight to yourself and try and fight your struggles by yourself. And after a while, I think it can be easy to just give up. And I think in moments of struggle, you really truly find out who you are and what you're supposed to do and why you're here. I think when you're going through struggles and going through a hard time, it's really important to reach out to others, and more importantly though, I think to not give up and just keep trying. Like even if it means you're just getting up out of bed and just showing up to class, at least you went to class. Like it doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but you just keep trying.
It's really important to remind people that seeking help is not a bad thing. Taking personal days because you're mentally unwell is not a weak thing to do at all, and that mental health is just as important as physical health.
Be good to yourself. Take care of yourself. Do whatever you gotta do to make yourself happy.